Meet Boo Boo Kitty. Boo Boo Kitty is 14 years old. She's got arthritis, and she's in the early stages of kidney disease. She's also a happy, loving cat with a great quality of life. So let me ask you, would you adopt Boo Boo Kitty? Yeah, there's a lot of people in this room who actually would adopt Boo Boo Kitty. But if I'm honest, for me personally, the answer would actually be no. And at the time, I didn't know anyone else who I thought would adopt Boo Boo Kitty either. But I also couldn't imagine euthanizing an animal that had so much life left inside her and so much love to give. When I first met Boo Boo Kitty, I had only recently transitioned careers. I was a former software executive, and I was now running an animal shelter. And Boo Boo Kitty was one of my first major challenges. The organization was divided. There was Camp A, those who thought that Boo Boo Kitty deserved a second chance, and there was Camp B, those that thought she should be euthanized because there were far too many more adoptable animals out there. I decided to take a leap of faith that a potential adopter might actually be out there. And what this unassuming, friendly little black cat with her white habit taught me early on has helped shape Humane Society Silicon Valley ever since. Taking a leap of faith is actually the first principle in creating an organization that places hard-to-adopt animals. And taking that leap of faith has to start at the top of the organization. I needed to assure my staff that no one was going to be penalized if length of stay numbers were longer or if medical costs went up. I needed to make sure that staff had air cover when they wanted to help these animals, when there are others who were pushing back and saying we shouldn't be bringing in these animals at all. And personally, I also needed to recognize it wasn't about me. I didn't know all the potential adopters that might be out there in the world, and it wasn't my place to judge what others are and aren't capable of taking on. Boo Boo Kitty's adopter was more than willing to take on an older animal that had kidney disease, in part because she resonated with Boo Boo Kitty on a really personal level. You never know what will make a love connection. You do need to believe that one is possible. And belief is actually the second principle in creating an organization that places hard-to-adopt animals. There is a lid for every pot. And if you believe it, you will see it. That is a revolutionary mindset shift. When you do it, when you make that shift, you unleash an army of people who want to mobilize and rally behind an animal. Encourage your community and your organization to share that animal's story. They can use social media. They can talk to everyone that walks through your doors. Boo Boo Kitty ended up in the local paper because a volunteer took her time to send Boo Boo Kitty's picture in. And one of our animal care techs helped educate Boo Boo Kitty's adopter about what it would mean to have a cat that had kidney disease. The people in your organization will advocate for the animals that they care about if they know that it is encouraged and expected that they do so. Another example of a hard-to-place animal in our care was Finn. Finn is also a cat, which really shouldn't be unusual, except that Finn's adopters were actually looking for a dog. So Finn had been with us for about a year, and at this point, most of the organization was firmly in Camp A. They were believers, and they were looking for that lid for every pot. And so they decided to find a way to make Finn stand out. One of our behaviorists decided to clicker train Finn. And what do you know? A couple came in looking for a dog that they wanted to clicker train. And so one of our adoptions counselors took a risk, and introduced them to Finn. And while Finn was performing his various tricks, this dog-focused couple became so enamored that they realized this was the animal that they actually came in to adopt. Our adoptions counselors have had success because they've focused on the characteristics of what people are looking for, rather than just taking what they hear at face value. And the third principle, embracing the perfectly imperfect. Rather than looking at imperfections as reasons for animals not to be adopted, think of imperfections as a reason for getting animals adopted. We took a bold approach with a dog-reactive Chihuahua that had been in our care for over 15 months. We decided to use satire and humor to play up Teddy's imperfections. Yes, he was a dog-reactive Chihuahua, ill-mannered, but we also knew there were lots of Chihuahuas that were already in homes, and their animals loved them as is. So we decided to rename Teddy Eddie the Terrible. And we described the top 3 reasons why you would not want to adopt him. With a staff-written blog post and a volunteer-made video, the satire and humor ended up putting Eddie the Terrible on the local news. And after having him for 15 months, he was adopted within a week. And he also ended up on Good Morning America. When it comes to recognizing imperfections, we also have to think about people having imperfections too. And therein lies the opportunity to create a powerful match. Perhaps one of our best-known hard-to-place animals is Petey. You may have seen the Mutual Rescue Eric and Petey film that's been all over the internet lately. Mutual Rescue began with the idea that when you help animals, you're actually helping people. And when you embrace imperfections, miraculous things can happen. Eric described himself as obese and middle-aged, and he came to see us and he asked to meet an obese, middle-aged dog so that they would actually have something in common. They went on to transform one another's lives. They literally fell in love with each other, started walking together, and they both lost a lot of weight. We've had similar successes when our adoptions counselors have gently recognized that there are 2 potential peas in a pod that should meet. A man with a hip replacement that selected a dog with a limited gait. A woman who lost an arm to cancer, adopting a 3-legged dog. Believe that what might be a liability to one person is a gift to someone else. So I'd like to wrap up by telling you the rest of Boo Boo Kitty's story. So when her picture was in the paper, a retired nun happened to notice her. Black and white cat, black and white nun's habit. Are you seeing some synergy here? This nun was grieving the loss of her beloved cat, and she knew she wanted to adopt again, but she didn't know when the time was going to be right. And so she decided that she was going to wait for a sign. This nun also had a generic name that she called every cat she met. And that generic name for a cat happened to be none other than Boo Boo Kitty. And so when she saw Boo Boo Kitty's picture in the paper, it was the flashing neon sign that she had been waiting for. Albert Einstein said, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." Now, I'm not suggesting you need to believe in a higher power, although we are talking about a nun. What I am suggesting is that when we took a leap of faith, faith jumped up and caught us. Faith walked through the door, in the form of a nun no less, and adopted Boo Boo Kitty. And today, this nun sits at her breakfast table looking at Boo Boo Kitty as Boo Boo Kitty lounges and stares out at the birds outside. Coincidentally, just like her previous cat used to. There is a lid for every pot. Believe it, and you'll see it. Thank you.